Well, Kicking It with Sensei, and today we're joined with 2004 Olympian, Judo black belt and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Dr. Rhadi Ferguson. And you're very welcome, Rhadi.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you could just give the audience a wee bit of background into your martial arts.
Well, I started Judo, man, at the age of 6 in Miami, Florida, in the after-school program that my father got me into. And I was in there from the age of 6 to 12. And then at 12, then we moved to a place called Altoona, Pennsylvania, because my dad bought a car dealership. Yeah. And excellent. I hadn't done Judo for years. I played American football. I wrestled in 9th grade, which is junior high school at the time. We had 1st through 6th, and then 7th through 9th, and then 10th through 12th. And now they have a middle school system, was 1st through 5th, 6th through 8th. So I didn't have middle school. I had junior high school. And I wrestled in junior high school 1 year. And then we moved from Pennsylvania to Maryland in my 11th grade year. And I played football and I ran track. And I got a football scholarship at Howard University. And I went to Howard University, graduated at 17. I started on the football team at 17. When I was at Howard, I wrestled and I ran track. And I also decided, and let me try, I ran track and I played football, so let me try wrestling. So I tried wrestling at the collegiate level, never wrestled in high school. Walked out there on the first day, beat the scholarship athlete that they had on the wrestling team, just using Judo, dropped Selnagi, and he pulled Selnagi that I learned as a kid. Yeah. And then I wrestled for Howard. I ended up being a 3-sport athlete at Howard University, football, wrestling, and track. One of 3 that have been at the school since the founding of the school. And I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2014 at my school. But the good thing was I thought I was going to the NFL. And the Detroit Lions flew me out, and they told me, we're going to pick you up after the 7th round as a free agent. Now, I had a couple of other teams told me they were going to pick me up as a free agent, and I played fullback at the time. And that didn't pan out. And my agent said, well, you don't have to worry about it. We have some offers from the Canadian Football League. The Canadian Football League offers were $27.5 Canadian dollars. Yeah. And I was offered $40,800 US dollars as an engineer, because I did mechanical engineering for Texas Instruments. So I went off to engineering, and I thought my career as an athlete was, over or at least curtailed. I got back into Judo. I had a conversation with my mom in 1996 after watching Jimmy Pedro win the Olympic bronze medal. And I told her, I said, man, I'm going to go to the Olympics. And she was like, yeah, right. So I graduated from college in 1997. Man, I started training at some local club in Massachusetts in Judo, and chance and happenstance end up being like about 80 minutes away from where Jimmy Pedro lived. So this guy I saw on TV in 1996. Yeah. Now I started practicing with this guy 2 times a week, getting flopped around. But I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm training. By 1998, when my job moved me from Massachusetts out to California, I'm training in California, doing jiu-jitsu with Joe Morera, training at Tenerife Judo Club, training at a lot of places, with a lot of different senseis, really good training. And then in 1999, I just quit my job. I quit my job at Texas Instruments, and I moved to the Olympic Training Center to train full time. I moved to the Olympic Training Center, and I just missed making the team in 2000. Yep. I had to place 3rd at the Korean Open, which is a really tough tournament, in 1999, and I ended up placing 5th. I lost in the finals, and that's how I didn't make the Olympic team in 2000. So I just continued to grind for about 4 more years, and I ended up making the Olympic team in 2004. Heck of a story, though, man.
It is, yeah. And do you think quitting your job and actually concentrating full time is something that's kind of essential to compete in the Olympics and get to that level of athleticism?
At my level, for sure, because I had not done Judo for a long time. I returned to the sport. I had to 100% bathe myself in the sport. Even when I did come back and I quit my job, I was still working in the kitchen. I was working in the kitchen at the Olympic Training Center, sweeping up and mopping. I was doing some substitute teaching. I was doing my master's degree, and after I finished my master's degree, I started my doctorate program. So I was doing my doctoral studies while I was competing. Yeah. And I had one Olympian from the United States tell me, he says, "Man, you weren't all in."
Yeah.
And I said, I said, "You're right." I said, "I wasn't all in." I said, I didn't have the privilege to be all in because I didn't have the backing that you had to be all in. Yeah. And you could be all in, and then when your career is over, if you don't have anybody that's going to funnel you into a program or a job or take care of you because you were just all in, then you need to make sure that you have some other things going on so that when you finish competing, you can survive.
Yeah.
Because as much as we care about the Olympics, everybody does not.
Yeah, true. No,
that's it.
Very true. And what do you think the mindset is that's needed to reach that level?
It's beyond MMA. It's beyond professional football. It's beyond anything that anybody could imagine. Yeah. Competing on an international level, not on a national level, not on a state level, competing on an international level with high-level competitors, with a high-level pool of athletes, is totally different. You have to almost turn yourself into like an assassin. Yeah. You got to be willing to go out, and most people never say this, but you have to be willing to go out and hurt and maim and kill with the understanding that the rules will save the person.
Yeah.
And what's going to allow you to be safe is the other person is going to go just as hard as you're going. So they will be safe, and you have to go very hard so that you will be safe. And then it's the referee's job and the sport and the rules of the sport and our adherence to sportsmanship that allows everybody to walk away safely. But you're a different animal, man, when you're a combat sports athlete, especially at that level, And I have this conversation with people about MMA, and MMA is difficult. I did MMA. The pool of athlete in MMA is very different than the pool of athlete at the top level in Greco-Roman wrestling, freestyle wrestling, and judo.
Yeah,
very different. You can run the weightlifting numbers, the VO2 max numbers, the Wingate test numbers, the special fitness test number. It's a different level athlete. And even if you do have your anomalies like John Jones, you don't have 15 of them. You don't have 100 of them. Yeah. I can find the top 2 players out of Japan, the top two out of Japan, the top 2 out of Mongolia, the top 2 out of Uzbekistan, the top 2 out of Ukraine, the top 2 out of South Africa, the top 2 out of Korea, the top 2 out of China, and possibly the top 2 out of the United States. And they all have similar testing results, similar body fat results, similar, like the anthropometrics of those athletes will all be similar in terms of body fat and weight. And the pool, there is a greater pool of talent available than that's available in MMA. You look at MMA, after you get past the top 10 names, it's nobody. There's a huge drop off.
There's not much there, yeah.
No, and there's a really huge drop off from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
At the Olympic level, that's not a huge drop off from 1 to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 can all win.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
For sure. Definitely.
And you've put a lot of time in the judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I know one of the most important things that comes across in both sports is the grip. And I know you're very sort of great advocate for grip fighting. And do you think people put enough effort, enough time into working on grips that they do actually grappling on the ground? And
I think that they think that they do.
Yeah.
I think it's a situation where people suffer from what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the Dunning-Kruger effect is sometimes you don't know that you don't know.
Yeah.
And there are elements to the grip fighting game that people just aren't aware of. So there's no way for them to practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of grip fighting. I have a website, www.gripfighting.com, where there's an online grip fighting academy, and a lot of stuff is free. Some stuff is paid, but a lot of stuff is free to help people improve their grip fighting, because grip fighting doesn't only occur in tachiwaza and standing, but it also occurs on the ground in newaza.
Yeah.
And everybody believes that there's 3 parts of a judo throw or 3 parts of a jiu-jitsu throw, because you do traditional jiu-jitsu, which is Kuzushi, Shikuri, and Kake. But it's actually 4 parts, and the first part is actually kumikata. So my ability to grab you creates the engagement for us to have the off-balancing and the entry and the execution.
Yeah. Definitely. I've followed a lot of your stuff over the years now, and I found actually learning the grip fighting has actually improved my game. That I haven't done a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I found even the grips has actually put me in a good standing on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side now. So
Correct.
So it definitely puts you on a different level, that kind of thing, when you're able to take control from the start. But I know too that I've seen recently your son's actually started wrestling now too.
No, man, my son doesn't. They don't wrestle. We wrestle. We wrestle. Inside of my judo club, we have a lot of people. Well, 1, 2. I got 2 families from the European bloc. One is from Russia, and the other was from Belarus. So I ended up having 1, 2, 3. I had 4 people in my club, 2 from Russia and 2 from Belarus. So we use a lot of different styles of jacket wrestling and without the jacket to cross-train in judo. And one of the major things that we do is we do a lot of Greco-Roman wrestling to help with the upper body and help with the upper body throws. And my son has been doing practicing Greco-Roman wrestling, and since he's about 8. Yeah, because sometimes we take the gi top off and fight without the gi top. Yeah, you have to, so you get used to being close to the person.
Yeah, so it's definitely in the family then. And
yeah, no,
I know your cousin was also, he was in MMA, wasn't he? Kevin Ferguson, or better known as Kimbo Slice. Yeah.
Yes, out of Bahamas.
Yeah, definitely a great MMA fighter. And I know you done MMA yourself.
Yes, for Strike Force.
For Strike Force. And
one of the dumbest things I ever did.
Did you find you had to work on your striking game a lot?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of carryover with the grip fighting and the striking. Yeah. But I had to really work on the striking, and the difference is as a pugilist, you really have to understand body hardening, and you have to accept the fact that you're going to get hit, which is very different than football. In football, you accept you're going to get hit. It's very different accepting that you're going to get hit in the face. I mean, and even when you block, even when you block, you're still going to catch some of the impact of that hit.
Yeah. And
you have to train yourself to keep your eyes open, whereas most of the time when people punch or get punched, they close their eyes. So it's very different. You got to keep your eyes open so you can see everything. Yeah. So it was really, really different from a grappling standpoint to a striking standpoint to get, I would say, not even physically, but environmentally acclimated, like to the understanding that there are live bullets flying in here. Right.
Definitely.
It was a little bit different.
Yeah. And what do you think you got in life out of doing martial arts? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, resilience, grit. That's the main thing. And I want to say this to any parents who are listening. If you are the type of parent who is complaining because the judo practice or the jiu-jitsu practice or the wrestling practice is too hard, you're missing the boat.
Yeah.
You're missing your child is supposed to cry sometimes in practice, because children cry.
Yeah.
That's what children do when they get super frustrated. They're children. As adults, you rarely cry at work. If you cry at work, you go in the bathroom somewhere, you go outside in your car, but children cry on the spot, wherever they are, when they face adversity, because that's what children do. And sometimes they're not going to like it, and sometimes it's going to be hard, and sometimes it's going to be tough. but they have to build up their resilience and their grit, because the things that they can't go through in a K through 12 system or elementary system or grade school system, whatever, however you guys have it, primary school, they can go through that through in martial arts practice.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe in people hitting other people. No, I don't believe in that. Yes, I do believe in violence. Yes. So you believe in, yes, I believe in violence, and you believe in violence too. You only believe in violence when it's necessary.
Yeah.
Violence sometimes is necessary. Violence is necessary for the sharpening of an individual.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's necessary. I don't think that people should be bullies, but violence is necessary. No, I don't. There are certain times when we have wars and we have conflicts because the violence is necessary. Could it be avoided? Yes. But at the time, it was necessary. There are things that happen to you in your life which shape you. And all the things that have shaped you have been traumatic in some way. They've been traumatic in a good way. Sometimes they've been traumatic in a bad way, but all of them have shaped you.
Yeah, definitely.
And they've changed you. And things have made you stronger. Things have made you better. And some of the adversity that you go through in martial arts practice is necessary. The people who have the toughest time watching practice in my place are the moms. They want to run out on the mat and save their children. Yeah. I tell them all the time, I say, you can't save your child from this. I say, you don't rob your child from their struggle.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to move out of your comfort zone and actually be under stress to grow. So you don't grow staying in the same comfortable space all the time. So, and I know you've been doing YouTube for a long time. I think I've been following you, must be 10 years on YouTube. And do you think technology is going to play a big role in the future of martial arts?
It already does.
Yeah.
How people learn, what people learn, how fast they're advancing. I think that even in law enforcement, we see this. I think there was a time 30 years ago when law enforcement officers would run into people on the street, and the people on the street didn't know anything. Yeah. And now they run into people on the street, and the people on the street are oftentimes trained better than they are in hand-to-hand combat, which then makes them go for their weapon earlier, or at least have a mental propensity to go for their weapon earlier for fear that they don't know what the other person knows. So I think it's changing. It's changing how people train, like during the quarantine, during the pandemic. Now you have people who have agreed to stay inside of a bubble, and they just get together in each other's garage and they watch a video on YouTube and they practice it over and over again. And there have been some people who have gotten quite good during the pandemic. I have a program called the Mat Work Magic program. It's 52 weeks where you could train with a dummy. I have so many people in California on that program because the gyms weren't open for a period of time.
Yeah.
So I have another person in Australia who's on that program. He's on the dummy. He was on the dummy, I mean, relentlessly, because that's all that people had at the time. And I think that some of the free things that all of us put out there on YouTube and on Vimeo and on Facebook have really helped people globally move forward in the martial arts, and also expose people to different arts, expose people to traditional jiu-jitsu, traditional karate, traditional taekwondo, some of the traditional arts, and also expose people to things like Sanshao and Karash and Judo and jiu-jitsu and things like that, and MMA. And I think that allowing people a buffet of options to look at, I think it's positive, because every lifelong martial artist starts out with one art.
Yeah.
But they don't finish with that same art. Not if you're a lifelong martial artist.
Definitely not, no. It's I know I've been 26 years in martial arts now, and I started out as a boxer, but I don't even think I could count how many martial arts I've tried over the years and dabbled in, and it's just, you kind of, once I got that black belt, that was it. It was just, the buffet was opened, and it was just everything, and was
that's why
an opportunity.
That's why I don't ever talk trash about martial arts. I know a lot of beginning jiu-jitsu people on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu side always want to talk trash about other martial arts, and this one's good, and this art is the best. Your art is not the best. Nobody's art is the best. Every art is good for what it's good for.
Yeah.
That's it. Archery is good for what it's good for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, archery does fall under the categorically, it would be a martial art.
Yeah.
It would be. Martial means warlike, and that's an art. It would be a martial art. You can't tell me that jiu-jitsu is better than archery. No. And jiu-jitsu is not better than karate, and jiu-jitsu is not better than taekwondo, and jiu-jitsu is not better, and taekwondo is not better. They are all good for what they're good for.
Yeah, exactly.
Get what you can from them and apply them to life. It's not get what you can from them so you can fight.
Yeah. Excellent. And have you a favorite part of training to do? Do you prefer teaching or competing?
Oh, it's a very difficult question to answer because I loved competing.
Yeah.
I'm in a different season of my life. As a 46-year-old, my testosterone levels aren't what they were when I was 28, 32. Yeah. I'm not full of piss and vinegar. You know, somebody doesn't brush against me and I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? I'm very, very different now. I'm in the stage where I enjoy pouring, and my cognitive vat was filled up over the years with experiences and moves and strategies and tactics and ways to play the game and game theory. And I have all these things, and now it's my job to pour them out to other people and to the next generation. And I enjoy competing, and I enjoy being a pourer right now. Yeah, I enjoy both. There's a high level of the fulfillment that you get when you compete is more of a personal one.
Yeah.
And you hope that what you're doing can inspire others, but you're not doing it for the purpose to inspire others. Yeah. When you teach, you are filled from the experience, and the other person is fulfilled from the experience, and everybody's inspired.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Definitely.
I honor and respect both. And I loved where I was at the time when I was competing, and I love where I am now at the time when I'm teaching. Okay? Because I don't have to compete with anybody to teach.
Yeah, definitely. And what advice would you give someone starting out in martial arts?
Bruce Lee said that the value of a cup is in its emptiness. And I believe that. I believe in having Shoshin, coming with empty mind, but in the beginner's mind. But the value of a cup is actually in its shape. I think the most important thing is for you to shape yourself attitudinally on the effective side, to go in as an empty vat, being willing to be filled up, and give the martial art a chance. A lot of people go into these places, they say, I'm going to do it for 30 days, I'm going to do it for 90 days. That's not a chance. When you do a martial art, go into that martial art and finish it out. Do at least 6 months. Do the same thing that a sports season. Do about 6 months. And then if you like it, and if you don't like it, get out.
Yeah. If
you like it, continue to do it. You may have to pay a little bit more to do month to month for 6 months, but give it a true look. That's at the minimum. I would say do it 2 years.
Yeah.
And then if you don't like it, move on to something else.
And do you think it's important as you go through martial arts to keep that mindset and kind of always consider yourself kind of an empty vat and learn?
Yes. Having short-term is important, because you get to the point where I'm a 4th degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm a 6th degree Rokudan in Judo. And man, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. There's stuff that I'm still picking up stuff and seeing stuff differently. I'm still watching judo matches. I'm still buying online instructionals. Like, I'm still learning. I'm still learning better ways to teach. I'm still learning moves I didn't know. I'm still discarding moves that I thought were great that aren't necessary once you find out how to become more efficient. Like, I'm just learning a lot, man.
Yeah,
You just cannot stop learning.
Excellent. And just the same with teaching there, and I know you have a doctorate in education. Do you think a lot of sports coaches put enough work kind of into teaching methods and actually
No.
looking at their teaching and their coaching?
No, man. Many of them are clueless, man. Clueless when it comes to pedagogy, when it comes to metacognitive practices, when it comes to thinking about how people think. When it comes to deliberate practice, understanding how people learn, laying down of myelin sheath over a movement, doing a movement over and over again, so you can create these layers of myelin sheath, so that the move moves itself from a level of proficiency to a level of efficiency on the neural level. That it's hard to watch some people teach at times, but I have to understand that every instructor is the best instructor ever for that child, because that child has a place to go. That person has a place to go. Sometimes they have an after school program. They're giving the kids lemonade and cookies afterwards. There's a place for some of those children to go while the parents still work. There are a lot of things that an instructor is doing that are really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's not my place to critique how they're teaching all the time. But I can be critical of the teaching methods or the lack thereof, because as martial artists, what we want is, when we're pouring, we want most of the information that we're pouring to go on into the glass, not on the floor.
Yeah.
And if you're pouring and a lot of it's going on the floor, then I think a lot of the students are missing the richness of the experience, because we don't have instructors in place who understand how to teach, how to coach, and the differences between teaching and coaching.
Excellent. And finally, how can people find you online and find out more information?
Man, you can Google me. Other than that, I'm on Instagram at Tampa, Florida Judo. I'm also on Instagram at Rhadi Ferguson, RHADI FERGUSON. I'm also on Instagram at Coffee with Rhadi, where I have a podcast and a show where I talk about life and daily activities. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Rhadi Ferguson, or Tampa, Florida Judo. And I'm on Twitter as at RHADI, just Rhadi, or at JudoDoc, JUDODOC.
Thank you, Rhadi. It was a pleasure having you on today.
Oh, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Perfect. I'll put links to all that in the description as well, so people can find you.
Thank you.
No problem.